My daughter left me when I was fighting cancer. 2 years later, she came back thinking I had died, hoping to get all my belongings. I am a 56 years old man who was diagnosed with colon cancer 7 months ago. It was found during a regular checkup, and luckily it was in the early stage. Even though the doctors were hopeful, I was very upset. No one wants to think about dying. When I got home, I told my daughter about it. She was as shocked, as scared as I was. We only have each other. Her mother is alive, but not part of our lives. I am a single father living with my 22-year-old daughter, Hannah. My wife and I separated on good terms 14 years ago. We stopped loving each other and she moved to Atlanta with her boyfriend, leaving me to take care of our daughter, who was 8 years old at the time. Hannah has always been a difficult child. She didn't handle our separation well and became angry with her mother for leaving. She never spoke to her mother again after that and ignored her calls. I tried my best to fill that gap and raise her well, but I guess I didn't do enough. When I told Hannah about my cancer, she was very hurt. We cried and hugged, telling each other how much we loved each other. We talked about our happy memories, her graduation day, our yearly vacation, and hiking trips. She promised to support and take care of me. I never thought she would get tired of me and leave, but here we are. After 7 months, she packed her bags and left me behind like I was nothing. I have always supported her, and this is what I get in return? I do understand that it's hard for a young woman to take care of her sick father, but she didn't have to do everything. I had a nurse for that. All I needed was for her to be by my side. My doctor advised me to quit my job or reduce my workload because the treatment would be very tough, both mentally and physically. I told my manager and he was understanding. He let me leave my job and said I could come back after I beat the disease. So I decided to quit and focus on my recovery. Money wasn't an issue for me. I had no big expenses. I had paid off my house mortgage long ago, and my daughter had finished her education. I had enough savings to last a few years and some assets I could sell if needed. I was in good place financially. I was also optimistic about the treatment, and my doctors were supportive. Hannah used to take me to chemo and regular checkups. The chemo sessions were so painful and exhausting that I could barely move for a day or two afterward. I needed Hannah's help with basic tasks like getting me food and medicine. I got myself a wheelchair to move around the house on my own during those weekdays. But some days, even getting into a wheelchair was hard. The treatment was wearing me down mentally and physically. I felt so weak, like my bones were about to break. It made me even more frustrated that I struggled to do simple things like eating, walking, or using the bathroom. As the months went by, Hannah became irritable. She stopped coming to my room and barely spoke to me. Our conversation dwindled to one-word responses. It hurt me to see my daughter ignoring me. She was the only person I had, and talking to her helped me forget some of my pain. But when she became hostile, it was unbearable. I asked her if she thought I was a burden, and she exploded, saying yes. It was heartbreaking. She said she was tired of taking care of me. I understood that making meals and handling my basic needs could be overwhelming for her. Young people often don't like being around the sick, so I told her I would hire a nurse. The hospital helped me find an experienced one. I thought that this would solve the problem, but it didn't. Hannah remained cranky. She kept her distance and was rude to the nurse. I asked the nurse to avoid Hannah, but Hannah still picked on her for small things. She even told the nurse not to touch the refrigerator or enter the kitchen because she thought the nurse was dirty from taking care of me. Though Hannah never said anything directly, it became clear she didn't like the nurse around. The nurse asked if I was happy with her work because she sensed that Hannah was not. I assured her she was doing a great job and I had no complaints. That evening, when the nurse left, I confronted Hannah about her behavior. I had previously asked her to stay out of the nurse's way and let her do her job peacefully, but now it was affecting the nurse's ability to work. When I told Hannah Hannah she was being mean. She lost it. She claimed the nurse smelled bad and that she was just trying to teach her basic hygiene. I lost my temper and yelled, God, she is a nurse. She's been trained in hygiene. She knows more about it than you do. What do you think you are to give her hygiene lessons? A school dropout? Hannah exploded, screaming and ranted for a good 10 minutes about how I had made her life miserable. She blamed me for her mother leaving and for her not having a normal childhood. I was used to her outbursts, so that part didn't hurt much. What really hurt were her false accusations. She called the nurse terrible names and accused me of protecting her because I was her sugar daddy. She said the nurse must have seen me as an easy target to manipulate and take my wealth, since I had no family to inherit it. I cut her off, shocked by how delusional she sounded. Our argument got so heated that she stormed out, slamming the door in my face. An hour later, I heard her yelling again from the living room as she dragged her suitcases out of the house. She shouted, I'm leaving for your own good. This is what you wanted. Now you can do whatever you want with your mistress. Spend all your money on her before you die. I don't care. Don't expect me to visit you when you're dying. I'm not coming back. I wanted to stop her, but her words broke my heart. Tears filled my eyes as I sat by the window sobbing and watched her pack her bags into the car and drive away. It's been weeks since she left and I feel worthless. I've failed as a father. Her words hurt me more than my illness. How could she accuse me of having a relationship with my nurse? How could she think I would waste my life on someone else? I feel like a failure, both as a husband and a father. I have no motivation to continue my treatment. Edit 1. Thank you all for the love and support. This post unexpectedly received a lot of attention. I was using this space as a kind of therapy to deal with my miserable and lonely life. Everyone engaging with my story means a great deal to me. Even the smallest gesture of kindness matters, so thank you all. I'd like to share some background about Hannah. A kind person asked why my 22-year-old daughter still lives with me and whether I ever took her to therapy when she was younger. Yes, I did everything I could to help her manage her emotions, counseling, quality time, outings. I even avoided getting serious with any women to prevent emotional upheaval in her life. Hannah didn't handle our separation well and became aggressive. I took her to therapy, which helped somewhat, but the aggression often returned. She dropped out of college despite my efforts to convince her to continue. She claimed she wanted to start a business, a salon, and I supported her financially. At the salon, she met a man she said was the love of her life. She wanted to marry him after less than a year of dating. She was barely 19 at the time. I advised her to wait, but she followed her heart. The marriage didn't last even a year. After it ended, she moved back in with me. The man she married had no job and lived off her salon income. When they used up all the investment, the salon was sold. He left her shortly after, and since he was broke, she received no alimony. She ended up with no income, no husband, and I had to take her back in. She's been living off my income ever since. Now, when I'm facing a life-threatening illness, I fear she's going to abandon me like I'm nothing more than a pile of garbage. Update 1. Hey friends, I know it's been months since I last updated. Thank you for checking in. I'm genuinely grateful for the connections I've made here. I never expected to find real friends in this space. This month, I completed my final chemo sessions and was officially declared cancer-free. I can thank my medical team enough for their excellent care. After the conflict with my daughter, things became very difficult. My recovery slowed, if not worsened. My doctor grew concerned and recommended I see a counselor. That helped immensely. During my first counseling session, I just cried. It felt like such a release to finally talk to someone after bottling everything up. I even admitted I had considered giving up on treatment and letting the disease take over. But my counselor helped me manage the depression and feelings of hopelessness. I was advised to hire a full-time nurse since I was living alone and growing weaker. If an emergency occurred in the middle of the night, I needed someone nearby. I offered my current caregiver double pay to work full-time, as she already knew my medical history. I didn't want to bring someone new. Had Hannah still been here, she would have criticized this decision. Her accusations that I was romantically involved with my nurse still upset me, but I am learning to move on. With support from my doctors, counselor, and nurse, I focused on getting better. I also realized how mentally draining Hannah's tantrums were, even more exhausting than the chemo itself. When she came with me to treatment, I often returned home more emotionally fatigued than physically. I lost my hair, I lost weight, but I never lost my resolve, odd as it may sound. I now believe Hannah moving out was a blessing. It cleared the constant negativity from my life. I had made her my purpose, sacrificed my own happiness for hers, but her leaving taught me something. I shouldn't have let my love become blind devotion. She treated me like a punching bag, and I just accepted it. Not anymore. I am now rebuilding my life. Initially, I thought I'd go back to work, but I realized I don't need to. I have enough savings. If I ever do need more income, I might consider a simple job, maybe something at a supermarket. But right now, I am focusing on regaining my strength and muscle mass. I've started walking again, and once the breathlessness subsides, I plan to jog and eventually run. It's still hard. I tire easily, even doing basic tasks, but I'm taking it one step at a time. My nurse is still with me, but I'll let her go once I'm strong enough to care for myself. Updates 2. 2 years later. It's been 2 years since I was declared cancer-free. During this time, I've focused on doing the things I truly enjoy. I realized I had never really lived my life. I was always working hard to provide for my daughter and in my free time. I devoted everything to her. I never dated seriously, avoided relationships, and ghosted women I like just to shield Hannah from change. I did it all for her, but in the end, it didn't matter. She grew up and left me behind. After becoming cancer-free, I decided to start dating again. It was awkward at first. Dating culture had changed a lot. The slang and jargon threw me off so much. I'd sometimes pull out my phone mid-conversation just to look things up. After meeting about 6 women through dating apps, just casual meetups, nothing serious, I finally found someone I clicked with. Let's call her Sarah. She's in her early 50s and like me, she went through heartbreak. Her husband cheated on her multiple times. She gave him chances to change for their daughter's sake, but he never did. Now her daughter is off to college and Sarah's giving dating another shot thanks to her daughter's encouragement. When she talks about her child, I sometimes feel a twinge of jealousy, not in a bitter way, just reflective. I wonder what I did wrong. After 6 or 7 months of dating, Sarah and I decided to move in together. At my age, pushing 60, I don't think it was too soon. She preferred I move in with her, and I didn't mind. Her home is beautiful, a reflection of her artistic soul, whereas my house felt like a crumbling shell filled with memories I didn't want. So I sold it. Yes, I sold the house, more cash in hand, and no sentimental ties left. Why leave it for someone who left me when I needed her the most? All of this happened months ago. So why I am updating now? Because last week something unexpected happened. My daughter, who I hadn't heard from since she left, came back into the picture in the most dramatic way possible. While I was relaxing with Sarah, I got a call from Andy, the man who bought my old house. He was furious. Apparently, a woman had trespassed on his property and caused a scene. She had tried to unlock the front door with a key that no longer worked. She began banging on the door and yelling. Andy's girlfriend opened the door and confronted her. In response, the woman insulted her, accused her of trying to steal the house from a dying man, and claimed that her father had died and the house was rightfully hers. The woman, my daughter, Hannah, had no idea the house had been sold. She thought I was dead. Andy's girlfriend tried to explain the situation, but Hannah wasn't listening. She was yelling, threatening to return with her friends the next day, and demanding the woman get out of her father's house. When Andy returned home and his girlfriend told him what happened, he called me. He was clearly shaken. I admitted reluctantly that the woman was my daughter. Andy asked me me to come over the next day to sort it out, or he had have no choice but to call the police. At first, I told him to go ahead and get a restraining order, but then I realized this was my mess to clean up. Next day, I showed up at the house. Hannah arrived shortly after with two of her friends in tow, both clearly unsure of what they had walked into. She stood on the front, yelling and smashing the flower pots Andy's girlfriend had placed there. Andy opened the door, holding a baseball bat. He is a coach, so I couldn't really blame him for the theatrics, but I asked him to let me handle it. Before her friends could make a move, I stepped forward. Hannah froze. Her expression dropped. Her friends stopped in their tracks. She stared at me and muttered with a blank, pale expression, You are alive? I thought you were dead. What happened to your cancer? That moment, it was surreal. I would have given that house away for free just to see the look on her face. She pointed at Andy and his girlfriend and demanded to know who they were. I explained calmly that they were the new owners. I had sold the house. I no longer lived there. She had the audacity to ask, "What did you do with that money? Aren't you going to die?" Her words would have crushed me before, but not anymore. I laughed, genuinely laughed, and said, "That money, I'm using it to live the rest of my life. That's right, I'm cancer-free. And before you ask, let me make something clear. You get nothing. I quit my job. Whatever money I have is for me. You're on your own. Keep pretending your dad is dead. You have done a great job of that so far." She burst into tears and told her friends to leave. They hesitated but eventually walked off. She ran after me crying, "Dad, don't do this. I'm your daughter, your only family. You can't abandon me." I turned to her, smirked and said, "Sure I can, just like you did to me." And with that, I got into my car and drove away. Normally I'd feel regretful, broken, guilt-ridden, but that day I felt lighter, free, alive. I know in my heart I did the right thing. Thank you all for your continued support. I hope no one has to go through the pain I've experienced, but if you do, know that you're not alone. Fiancé left me due to my cancer diagnosis. I left her destitute. This has been 4 years ago, so the sting is gone and my revenge has been had. Sorry if this isn't the right forum. We dated for 4 years and had what I thought was a great relationship. We were both well-established professionals who both owned homes in the same neighborhood and both with daughters in the home. Her daughter was 11 and mine was 16 when we met. We had actually planned to get married, build a house, and raise the two together. We planned the house build because she had recently been diagnosed with a neurological disease that would eventually put her in a wheelchair and need something ADA friendly. During the planning stages, I began doing landscape and construction projects on her home to increase the resale value. All in, I invested roughly $30,000 into the home, running everything through my side construction business for tax, permitting, and resale purposes. We had a contract that payment would be made upon the sale of the home. I produced invoices for each and every project, but never pushed for payment because of the prior agreement. Fast forward 6 months, we were looking at property to develop and finalizing drawings on the home when I began feeling ill. I couldn't eat, constantly vomiting and passing blood. I began noticing that my abdomen looked swollen, which was odd because we were both very clean eaters and were in the gym every day. So I went to the doctor and began having tests done. During this time, she began having small cognitive issues and the stress of her current position was exacerbating her condition. So she took a $20,000 per annum cut in pay along with a lesser position inside the company. After a month or so of different tests and a biopsy, it came back that I had a golf ball-sized tumor in my stomach and would need to begin chemotherapy. So I began chemo and radiation treatments, which made me expectedly so extremely ill. She was spending time helping around my place on the weekends and staying over more. to the point that they were both at my home more than theirs. At this point, I suggested that we go ahead and put one of our houses on the market and move in together until the new house was built. I have great supplemental insurance as well as a long-term illness plan, so using that coupled with the sale of one of our houses would push us through comfortably and help ease the financial stress on her. Shortly after this decision, she became extremely distant. Her daughter wasn't coming down and hanging out with mine anymore. She had excuses for not getting together. She quit driving me to treatments and stopped staying over. She then dropped a bomb, a sentence that will forever be burned into my psyche. I love you, but I can't see myself taking care of someone this sick in the long term, and I don't think we should see each other any longer. In a text. It broke me. I won't lie, this was the first woman I had ever opened up to a planned life with since my wife died, when my children were 1 and 3. However, I tried to be mature about it. I forced myself to understand her position and to accept what I could not change. I calmly, the next day, gathered all of her things, packed them neatly, loaded them in my truck, and took them to her house to live on the back porch while she was at work, in order to avoid any awkward exchanges. Walking around the back and under the porch cover, I set down a box and saw her in her back living room, on the couch having intimacy with a man that she had introduced to me as a lifelong friend. I had dinner and drinks with this man and his girlfriend. We had gone on vacation with them as well. I never spoke of the incident with her and simply sent her a text later, explaining that I would leave her things on my side porch to pick up at her convenience. I discovered 8 or 9 months later from his now ex-girlfriend that they had broken up due to him confessing that he had been sleeping with my significant other, dating back to about the time we were finishing drawings on the new home. Now I'm pissed. Revenge time. At this point, I had finished a chemo and radiation from the time being and was feeling healthier. I was going through some much neglected paperwork when I ran across the file that contained $32,000 in unpaid, long overdue invoices which were promptly sent to my attorney to begin lien proceedings on the home. It turns out that I couldn't have done this a moment too soon because she was set to put her house on the market, coupled with interest over the course of what was then 19 months overdue. The invoices were hefty. That, along with the agreement of settling them when the house was sold and attorney fees, left her with roughly $10,000 after the sale of the home and settling her current mortgage. She promptly had to back out of the purchase of another home and moved in with her oldest daughter, sister-in-law, and 2 grandchildren. She also had to leave her job and begin receiving disability. I ran into her a little over a year ago, and she looked as if she had aged 20 years and was in the wheelchair we had talked about. We chatted cordially but briefly, and I excused myself and went on with my day. A few days later, her younger daughter called me and spoke of my running into her mom and could we hang out sometime. I gave a vague answer, thanked her for calling, and again went on with my day. The ex then called me a week or so later and began apologizing for leaving me as she did. Again, cordial but short. I thanked her for calling and hung up. She began texting, and this went on for several weeks until one she asked if I could ever see us rekindling what we had, to which I replied, I can't see myself taking care of someone so sick in the long term. Remember the box on your back porch? Did you think that lifelong friend brought that over to you from my house? Good luck to you. Goodbye. I sometimes feel guilt over this, but not much and not often. Am I the a-hole for exposing my sister's fake cancer to our parents after she refused to come clean herself? I am 34 years old, just found out that my sister, 31 years old, who has been telling my whole family she has cancer for the last 8 months, has been lying. She shaved her head, said she was doing chemo, and had our parents move in to help her through the treatment. I started to have doubt then. Besides also staying out late relatively frequently, she would never let anyone attend appointments with her, and she clearly had way too much energy for someone going through aggressive chemotherapy. Last week, I ran into the office manager of my sister oncologist at a coffee shop, small town. I casually mentioned my sister, and the office manager was confused. She had no idea who I was talking about. I did some digging through doctors and spoke to my sister about what I learned, and she broke down and spilled her guts. It turned out she fabricated the whole story because she was in over her head with debt and wasn't able to afford her apartment anymore. The cancer story got our parents to move in, and she could then stop paying her bills. I was furious and told her that she had 24 hours to tell our parents the truth or I would. She asked me not to tell them because it would ruin her relationship with them. She did not tell them. So yesterday, I took everything to our parents. Our parents are heartbroken. My sister is acting like I had no right to out her, and she didn't even say this to our parents. She was going to stage a miraculous recovery next month. She said I ruined her life and that family should be trying to defend each other rather than expose each other. Share your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.